So the topic today, what are men in their 50s attracted to versus maybe what we remember younger guys? Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. Once again, I want to welcome back Robert Manni, the host of Guys Guy Radio and author of the Guys Guide to Love. Thank you, Robert. So glad you're here again.
My pleasure to be back, Silka. Hello, everybody.
Well, I came across another topic that is perfect, of course, for us here. Nothing terribly earth-shattering, but something that really I think is important to be reminded of, especially those of us women out dating after 50, and hoping to find that special someone. So the topic today: what are men in their 50s attracted to versus maybe what we remember younger guys, when they were younger, what they wanted from a woman. Anything you want to say before we get started here?
I think it's a great topic because some things stay the same and never change, and some things evolve. And hopefully, men are evolving along the way in terms of what they're looking for and what their needs are, and their self-reflection and realization and introspection about and circumspection about who they are, what they want. And I think it's a great topic.
Yeah, no, I think so too. The first one here, someone who respects boundaries. Now, what do we mean by that? He says here, one of the biggest differences between younger men and men in their 50s is what they will and won't tolerate. That if somebody younger, if they were, extremely good looking or fantastic in bed, that they will forgive some stuff, some obvious red flags that they wouldn't anymore. What do you think?
I think a smart man will go that way, but some guys are going to be taken in by the looks and the sex, of course. I think if men are evolving, that would be something where they start to realize that the boundaries and parameters are important. The idea of beauty, I think, changes also as we age, because the beauty, I think we learn over time that a lot of beauty comes through people's actions, comes from inside. And the physical, even if you're physically attractive on an exterior basis, you have to be able to be a beautiful person to be really, truly beautiful.
Yeah. And so hopefully, I mean, this article was, I don't know if I said that or not, was written by a man, and he gives a very, very nice perspective of what older men, what they're looking for now. So good. Someone here, number two, someone who's honest. Well, yeah, duh. I mean, we all want that, but I guess what he means here is not necessarily someone who won't cheat on you, but someone who's just honest in presenting themselves, that they don't bring that mask to the table, but are open, honest about what they want and need in a relationship. I guess that is an issue still with a lot of women, that we bring those masks and don't really honestly present ourselves.
Well, there should be some mystique, and you want a little bit of peeling of the layers and the onion, if you will. That's kind of nice. You don't want to know everything, but I think the point is here, we really don't want to spend time on game playing after we hit 50 and above, because the clock's ticking. We want to just get to if this is going to work or not, and really spend our time concentrating on having fun, relating to the other person in a number of different ways, and not trying to figure out who they are, what they want, and if they're being forthright in terms of their honesty, as this writer says. I think it's a good point.
Yeah, no, I do too. And as always, I really want to hear, from our guys. Again, this is advice for women, or just something you need to know. And if this is all true, then chime in, or if you disagree. And
yeah, but just last thought on that, because you brought something up. I think you want honesty, but you don't want everything. You don't want the whole dump about somebody's whole entire life and what they think about everything. Over time, you're going to probably figure that out if you stay together. But at the beginning, you want honesty, but you don't want all the information.
You don't want to be,
because
you
some
don't
of
want
it's not going to be very good.
oversharing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or
you
too
don't want
much information too early.
Yeah, I think the main point, as you said earlier, is don't play games. Just be honest with your feelings, with your emotions. Don't yeah, don't dump. Yeah, but just be yourself. And
Yep.
again, it's nothing earth shattering, but something we really have to be reminded of. And I'm saying we as women, and I speak to myself when I say these things, as always. Someone confident and independent, that's been challenged on other videos too. We had these discussions. Men are looking for someone now who is emotionally secure and financially stable. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense, and especially if he's come from a relationship that where he had a very dependent woman, and is maybe paying a whole bunch of alimony now. So I get that, but do you think men really want confident and strong women?
I do, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's if a guy's wise that he will, because ultimately it's going to weigh the pros will outweigh the cons by a lot on that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about it. But some guys are maybe a little bit insecure about that. They think they're going to get overpowered
Mm-hmm.
and not be able to keep up. And people grow and they grow apart. Some couples grow apart over time. Some grow together. But I think a wise man will always want somebody who's an equal on a lot of different levels, not just equal in terms of everybody deserves the same opportunities, but the fact that they are strong, they are independent, they have their own life, and they're growing. And that's a
Yeah.
good thing because when I think one of the secrets to a successful relationship is when both partners can be growing on their own and
Mm-hmm.
bringing that to the table for the partnership.
Yeah. And I guess it's a fine line, again, speaking to women, between confidence and being controlling. And,
Right.
again, but it's something we've really talked about. So just, think about that. Controlling isn't confident. Confident, yeah. So yeah, good point. Another one that may others may or may not agree with completely anyway, someone with a high sex drive, that men and women in their 50s both want to continue to have sex, and they're going to look for someone who is very comfortable in their sexuality, who will initiate and just be there in the bedroom. I think that may be on a case by case basis, although I do tend to agree with this. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think it's on a case by case basis. Everybody's wired differently that way. And some people need a little bit more loosening up than others. And some people, I think, have a higher sex drive than other people. And over time, I think that changes also based on a lot of different factors, whether it's if people are taking certain meds or they have certain things that have gone on in their life, certain traumas or whatever. I think guys in general stay pretty horn doggy as they age, and they would like to have a partner who's still interested. And when
Yeah.
it goes to, it's interesting. I was listening to this new song by the Rolling Stones yesterday, and it's
Oh.
about this. Mick Jagger's 80, and he's
Mm-hmm.
complaining about you haven't had sex with me, and the song is called "Angry." Why are you angry with me? You haven't had sex with me in a month. I'm not angry with you. And I thought it was like so perfect because, here's a guy, he's 80
Mm-hmm.
and he's still
Mm-hmm.
randy. And then you have
Yeah.
other people who aren't for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've had some great videos on that with Tiffany and some other sexual health experts that really said, with women and sex drive, a lot of it has to do with the fact that, especially if they're in a long-term relationship, they just don't want to be, there's so many other things are in play other than actually wanting sex, but that's
right.
for another conversation. Someone seeking adventure and new experiences, that men who may have been, they're done with the settling down with raising kids, whatever, that they're now getting adventurous. I don't know. I think that's another case by case. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And everybody, my particular situation is kind of against the grain in that I waited till I got married when I was in my 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the settling down part of it because I did a
Yeah.
lot of crazy stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's on a case by case basis, but I can understand that a lot of guys who have, they've been there and done that and they've settled down and now they want to break out a little more, second half,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. I think that's cool and that's understandable. And I think
Mm-hmm.
they'd want a partner who has an equal, similar mindset at least.
Yeah. Well, yes, I personally, I'm like totally, I want to settle down. I want to relax. I want to, enjoy. I could care less if I ever traveled again. I say that.
Mhm.
I don't want to get another airplane if I don't have to. And so I think as a general point, I think that might be just a little off base. I don't want women to think that, they have to all of a sudden, jump off or climb Mount Everest or something. But if you do, and if you have somebody like that, go for it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely go for it. Someone emotionally intelligent and open-minded, that older men, and I think you said that at the beginning, are really focused now, the mindset for growth and a love for learning and a need to be emotionally intimate.
Now,
We're
I don't
talking
know
about
if, yeah, I think we're talking about women more than men that
I
way.
know,
And
I agree.
I think it's great if a guy's thinking that way. And I don't think he's going to have a hard time finding a woman who's interested in those things. I think the flip side, though, is more of a challenge sometimes where
Yeah,
women are looking for guys they can connect with on an emotional availability
right.
uh, plane. And
Yeah.
that's not always that easy. And, it could be sometimes when we age, guys can get closed down. Like
Mhm.
I have friends like just guy to guy thing, talking to them is like you have to really like work at it to get them to open up about anything. Guys
Yeah,
can be very closed, and over time they can close down, and I don't think it's healthy. I
yeah.
think that you should really want to be more open to things. And look at how it is with people watch the political divisiveness in the country and all, where people just watch Fox News over and over again because they want to be in that echo chamber, or MSNBC on the other side. They want to hear what they want to hear
Yeah,
instead of, I personally, I watch both because I find it hilarious that
yeah.
you get the complete opposite take. And it's
Right.
interesting because it keeps you thinking and saying, what would I be with that perspective? Could I understand why that people think that way? I think it's a really good process and practice that we should use in relationships. Look at the other person's perspective. Why do they think that way?
Mhm.
Maybe I can be a little bit more open that way. I think that's a really good thing for relationships, to be open
Yeah,
minded.
I agree. I totally agree with the open-minded, the emotionally intelligent, or just the whole vulnerability thing. That's a whole discussion of its own. In fact, I did a video with Joni on that. I think that
Mm-hmm.
our viewers will enjoy. I'll link to it. Someone who learned from her previous relationships. I'm not exactly sure what they mean here. I mean, it seems obvious, but that men have had multiple relationships, likely, and that if they've learned from them, they want someone who doesn't keep making the same mistakes. Is that what they mean here? I'm not
Well, I
exactly
think
sure.
you want somebody who doesn't keep making the same mistake. Maybe that's it.
Mhm.
And you know what? That's a really important point because a
Yeah,
lot of people are always thinking that person did me wrong and this person did
yeah,
that to me. And they never say, what can I do better?
yeah.
Am I doing something wrong? Is there something that I need to learn about myself that'll make me a better partner? If people took that little step,
Mhm.
even if you're in a relationship, you could always make it better. I think it's super important because it's so easy in our culture just to point the finger at and wag it at the other person instead of saying, what am I doing? Maybe
Mhm.
am I part of this? Because we choose
Yeah.
our feelings. It's very easy to say you made me feel this way. Well, that's a whole other discussion, but that's not necessarily true. We
Mhm.
decide how we're going to feel about things,
Right.
and I
Right.
think it's an important point.
Yeah, absolutely. That, well, the way you described it, I totally agree. The taking responsibility for where you are, your actions, etc. So many people, as you said, still cast blame, and that's such a huge red flag for me. That was one of the biggest lessons that I took to new relationships, is what my part in it is, almost to a fault, to where I would excuse bad behavior that really was their fault, because what am I
Mhm.
doing wrong here? So that's not good either.
Right.
But
That's a great
absolutely,
point.
yeah, but
Hmm.
absolutely, understanding what happened and why you are the way you are. Finally, I love this one. Someone accepting of where he is in his life. Now, obviously, all of these go for both men and women. Talking about men now, but that he's looking for a woman who well, accepts where he is. If he has children, you have to realize that you want to spend time with him, if he's still working, if it's not working, etc. Because when you do, I see that when you come together, you don't want to have to all of a sudden change your life or be uncomfortable about what you like or not like in order to progress with a relationship. What say you?
Yeah, you don't want to listen. We're going to get judged, and it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
part of the judgment is going to be how the money thing. If you've been in relationships where money's been an issue and uncomfortable, you don't want to get into another one of those. It goes back to the
Right.
previous question: have you learned anything? And that's a good thing. People have their own health issues. Everybody's got them, and they're going to pop up at different times. How do you deal with that, or is that something you want to get into? And then
Mm-hmm.
there's their past relationships. How have they handled their relationships? Why were they married 3 times or something? Could be a very good reason. And
Mm-hmm.
how did they handle that? Were they always the victim? Were they always the one doing the breaking up? Who knows? But I think you want a you want your partner to accept who you are and
Mm-hmm.
where you've been, and not try to change you, but at least understand the whys. But you have to be
Yeah.
then willing to articulate and share the whys in terms of what relationships you've had, what decisions you've made, and the
Mm-hmm.
choices you've made. It's really important.
Yeah, I think it's this all these points again. They can relate, or be true for both men and women. And I think it really is important that we focus on this every now and then. That's why we have these discussions, depending on where you are too, and starting a new relationship. So anyway, I'd always appreciate your input on this. We always have great talks. We are
Thank you.
coming to the end. Is there anything else that you want to add on this topic?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, I've learned just from our conversation, as I always do, that things can get more complicated. You'd think like, oh, I've been there and done that with relationships. I've had
Yeah.
the kids or this or that, but there's a lot that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's all the more important that we learn from our experiences about who we are, what we have to offer, and what we're really looking for,
Mm-hmm.
and be wiser about making the decisions and choices we make when we're dating as a second half and second act person.
Robert, thank you. As always, I'll link to all of your information, to your book, to your radio show on UK Health Radio. And I look forward to seeing you again soon on
Thank
Second
you,
Act
everybody. Thank you,
TV.
Silka.